All right, so get ready, because today we are going like deep diving into this Reddit post. You guys shared it, and it really just kind of blew up with debate online.
It's pretty fascinating actually how this like seemingly really simple situation is actually touching on like so many bigger issues, societal expectations, the roles of gender, like how we give care in relationships and all of that.
Yeah, for sure. So to give everyone a little more background,
Hmm.
basically the woman who posted this is 25, her boyfriend is 28, and they've been together for 3 years.
Okay.
And he was already at the supermarket, and she unexpectedly got her period
Yeah.
and was in a lot of pain and just, asked him to grab her some pads. Pretty simple ask, right?
Yeah, I mean, on the surface, totally. And that's why it's so interesting, right? Like, it really kind of makes you question, wait, what should be like the quote unquote normal thing to do here, like in a relationship? It's really fascinating.
And this is where, like, the whole "Am I the a-hole" subreddit comes in, right? She's really, like, actually asking, is she wrong here for expecting this kind of support from her partner? But before we jump into, like, what the internet thinks, let's actually just look at her side of it. Like, what were her arguments?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think understanding her perspective is key.
Yeah.
She argues that she's taken care of her boyfriend before, like in very personal ways. When he was injured, she even helped him in the bathroom. So there's this like expectation of reciprocity that she's bringing up.
Right, like, hey, I was there for you when you needed it, so shouldn't you be there for me? Which brings up this whole thing of, like, invisible labor in relationships.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
have you heard of this? It's
I don't know if you
basically,
will. Yeah, it's
yeah, go on.
well, I mean, for folks who might not know, like invisible labor is often those tasks that, well, people don't thank you for, right? And it often falls on women, things like noticing what needs to be done, taking care of people, managing the household's emotions and all that.
Yep. Totally. And then her second point was that it wasn't even like what he said, it was how he said it.
Okay.
She felt like if he'd been more understanding, even if he couldn't actually get the pads, it would have been okay,
That makes sense.
you know?
Yeah, that really speaks to the need for like emotional intelligence and validation in a relationship, even if he like personally was weird about buying pads, just a simple, hey, I'm so sorry you're hurting. I wish I could help, but this makes me uncomfortable. Can I do anything else? That would have been like completely different.
It's about recognizing her feelings and needs,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Even if you can't, like, totally meet them in that moment.
Exactly, exactly. And his like, dismissive reaction, that's the problem, not him not getting the pads.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And her last point was that his embarrassment, like at 28 years old, that just feels immature,
Hmm.
especially with her, taking care of him so personally before.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
It's not like it's something, scandalous. It's basic hygiene.
Mhm.
And this really, I think, shows how some men are still uncomfortable with periods, even though it's like totally natural.
It just shows you how much we still hold on to these expectations based on gender? Why is something so normal like this, like, still taboo?
Right, right. It's a double standard.
Especially when you think about, like, how much she's done for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So question, what does this, like, tiny little thing tell us about their relationship?
Yeah.
And, like, about our society's ideas on caregiving and gender roles and all that?
That's exactly what we're going to dig into.
Yeah.
Looking at, like, what people said on Reddit and, the psychology and the sociology behind all of this.
And trust me, the comments are wild. So come back for part 2, where we'll break all that down and see what it says about how people's attitudes are changing and just how complicated relationships are these days.
Oh, yeah. It's juicy. So welcome back. Let's get into these Reddit comments because honestly, they're just a goldmine of different perspectives, like on this whole thing. One thing that really jumped out at me was how many guys, like men, were sharing their own stories, right? Like they buy feminine hygiene products all the time, not just for their girlfriends, but like daughters, sisters, friends. Like it's no big deal.
Yeah, they're just like, it's normal. Why wouldn't I? Which is so great to see.
Totally. It's like they're saying, hey, this isn't just a woman's issue, right? It's a human thing. We all need to be understanding and supportive, no matter what gender we are.
Right.
I remember one guy, a dad, said his daughter, got her period unexpectedly at school, and he like rushed right over with supplies. He's like, what kind of father wouldn't do that?
Yeah, that's such a good point. Like he's normalizing it.
Right.
Showing it's his responsibility to be there for his daughter, like physically and emotionally.
And it shows other men and boys, right? Like, hey, being cool with this stuff, it's mature, it's respectful.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then there were these guys who were like almost bragging about how they take care of their partners, right? One guy was like, I make sure she's always stocked up, even if it's that one brand you can only get at, like that one specific store.
Right.
Like it was a badge of honor.
Oh, totally. It shows how attentive they are, you know? They
Hmm.
get it. They see it as like a way to show love and care, not something to be like embarrassed about.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's awesome. And then, among all the serious stuff, there was some funny stuff too.
Oh, always.
Right. One guy compared men who are scared to buy pads to those guys who won't ask for directions, like that classic stereotype.
It's so true though, right? It's like, what's the big deal? And it pokes fun at that whole like fragile masculinity thing, you know? Where guys think, oh, asking for help or doing something girly makes me weak, which is just ridiculous.
Totally. And then there were people like those who work in stores saying they literally don't even notice what you're buying.
Oh, yeah.
One cashier was like, I'm too busy, like, scanning and bagging.
Yeah.
Nobody cares.
It just goes to show you, right? Sometimes we stress about being judged for no reason.
Yeah, we think people are paying way more attention than they actually are.
Totally. But we gotta be real, not all the stories were positive, you know? Some women shared really sad experiences with partners who were dismissive, even like mean about their periods.
That
That's
heartbreak.
a reminder that, like, even though society is changing, some people are stuck in the past, right? Holding on to those old, harmful ideas about periods.
Yeah, one woman said her ex, like, hid her tampons because he couldn't stand to see them. Can you imagine?
That's awful. She must have felt so ashamed and, like, invalidated.
Totally. And it shows how much empathy and understanding is, like, still missing in some relationships. And this wasn't even just about pads and tampons, right?
Mm?
It was about the bigger picture of support. People were worried, like, how would these guys handle things like if she got sick or, childbirth, all that.
Right, right. It's a huge red flag, you know? If you can't handle something as simple as getting pads, what about the harder parts of life? You know, the messy, not so fun stuff that comes with any relationship.
Yeah, exactly. Like, are they truly partners, truly equals? Can they really support each other when it counts? Makes you wonder.
It really does. And, you know, going back to the original post, remember how she added that part later about how she took care of him after his accident, helped him with like really personal hygiene stuff for
Oh,
weeks?
yeah. I forgot about that. That definitely changed things, like everyone's opinions in the comments.
Big time. And that's what we're going to talk about next time, how the idea of fairness and like giving back what you get played a huge role in how people reacted and what it says about what we expect from relationships these days.
So we're back. And honestly, that edit, where she added that whole thing about taking care of her boyfriend after his accident, helping him with, like, really personal stuff for weeks. I mean, that totally changed everything.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
totally. I mean, at first, remember, people were kind of back and forth. Some were like, maybe she's overreacting. Maybe he just has a weird thing about pads. But once she added that context about her being there for him, like big time, people were not okay with it.
The internet was like, nope, not having
Uh,
it. People saying he let you, like, wipe his butt but can't buy you pads. That's not a partner. That's a child.
it went from a debate about what's normal to like a straight up discussion about respect, you
Yeah.
know? And giving back what you get, people were like, okay, you took care of him. Where's that same energy for you? It was clear. This wasn't just pads. It was like the whole foundation of their relationship was off.
And some of the comments were, like, intense, but they made you think. Someone said, imagine if you have kids someday. Is he going to refuse to change diapers because it's gross?
Right. It's like they were taking this one thing and seeing the bigger picture, right? What about all the other stuff that comes with a relationship, the not so pretty parts? If he can't handle this, how can he handle that?
It makes you think, and it wasn't just women saying this. A lot of guys were mad, too. I remember one comment, I'm single, and I have tampons at my place. It's just being a decent person. What if a friend needs one?
Exactly. It's a whole new way of looking at it, right? For him, it wasn't about being like feminine. It was about being a good person, plain and simple.
Yeah, realizing everyone needs help sometimes, and sometimes you got to do stuff that might feel a little weird at first. And that whole edit about her taking care of him, it really showed that invisible labor thing we talked about.
Oh, well, for sure. It was like she's always there for him, doing all this stuff, no complaints, and he can't even do this one little thing. It shows how unbalanced things can be, right? Like women are expected to be the caregivers, always anticipating needs, but do they get that same support back? Not always.
Makes you wonder, how many couples are dealing with this and don't even realize it?
Big question. And that's why this whole Reddit thing, even though it seems so simple, it really got people talking. It's something everyone wants, right? To feel like their partner sees them, supports them, cares for them.
Totally. So after all this, like, What's the big takeaway? What should our listeners be thinking about in their own relationships? And just like in general.
I think the biggest thing is even the small stuff. It can tell you a lot about people, their values, their beliefs, how they treat the people they love, you know?
It's like a little check-in, right?
Yeah.
Am I actually being a good partner? Are we a team? Or are we falling into those old school roles that don't work anymore?
And if this whole conversation has made you think or even like feel a little uncomfortable, that's okay. Being uncomfortable can be good. It can help you grow. Maybe it's time to talk to your partner really honestly about what you both need, what you expect, how you can be there for each other, even when things get tough.
Because being a real partner, it's not just about the big romantic stuff. It's the everyday things, you know. Knowing that no matter what, you've got someone in your corner, even if it's just picking up some pads at the store.
And remember, this is just one way of looking at things, right? Keep thinking about these issues, question what you think you know, talk to people about how gender roles are changing and what that means for relationships.
And if this deep dive got you thinking, we want to hear from you. Head over to the Voices of the Soul page on Shauna Pelage's YouTube channel. Leave a comment, tell us your stories, what you think, all that.
And while you're there, hit that subscribe button and give us a like. It really helps us keep making these deep dives and keep these conversations going. Until next time, keep diving deep.